Hey guys, what is up? Manhwa Infinite. I hope you guys do enjoy this recap and make sure to make it all the way to the end for the secret keyword. Without further ado, enjoy the video. Dreamside, the national game of South Korea, has created that kind of craze online among the crowds, which all sorts of celebrities, idols, actors, demographics, gaming nerds, and children have at least tried once in their lifetime. Doesn't matter who you are or where do you reside or what age you are. The number one trending game has left everybody hyperventilating. Chapter starts and a blue-haired dude with ocean blue hawk eyes, an adventurer, has created his gaming account, Channel 0114. This male, gaming name K, has surpassed everybody, ranking number 1 on this gaming platform. With an edgy sword and skill, he finished killing all those hairy-looking big giant monsters, thus making him the most legendary gamer. After 5 years of service, the game suddenly shut down due to server error, and in further info, we'll be noticing their second version of it, and this server error made K close his popular gaming account. Don't worry, legends, never died, and from here starts the legendary gamers' ultimate comeback. Today is the release date of the popular game Dreamside 2. They'll be releasing their second version. An average-looking cannon fodder is sitting on the floor, and suddenly, a blue hologram quest pop up right in front of him, stating that a gaming ID has been created, named Channel 0115. Some random spam clicks, and accidentally pre-ordering transformed one's dreams into reality. This cannon fodder is not any random average boy though. From the outside, he looks like a bystander. He has an MC halo on his head from before. Here, let's meet our legendary gamer and our protagonist, our pro gamer K. With the receiving of the package from Express Delivery, his life turned 360 degrees. He was inside an elevator and suddenly his body did a hip-hop swing and bam. He was stuck in the elevator and thus ended up in this hologram quest. K was telling himself that the confirmation button of the quest is practically begging him to press it. So why are you waiting? Go for it, boy. The quest gave him some conditions, stating that the elevator will be devoured by some parasites, and failure to defeat them in 1 minute would result in death. Drum rolls. Out of nowhere, roaches started invading the elevator, and a big roach came flying towards K and gave him a chew on his forehead. How loving. K let out a gut-wrenching scream, that musty, crusty roach, and the quest resulted in success, earning him a rugged long sword. If I didn't know any better, I would misunderstand it as ragged. And we can't heave a sigh yet. Suddenly, a portal appeared. There are many of them, the monstrous parties, or parasites, lurking behind the darkness of the portal, making their entrance slowly and gradually came into view. A goblin, ugly-looking creature. That horrid-looking constipated expression really is looking awesome on our MC's face. Well, just look at that sarcasm. K suddenly fell, and it started to hurt like hell all over his body. My boy K wasn't that serious before. Now, he starts planning that he needs to get out of here. His inner monologue is stating a dilemma, like he's only half of his HP left. And he already has got hit once, and any more of this and he will literally just die. The goblin looks like some spoiled broccoli with red eyes and gnawing teeth. Kind of the worst version of Hulk. And the goblin, despite its drumroll entrance, is a dwarf compared to our boy. Like all barks and no bite. Taking advantage of his distraction, the goblin starts to attack. K is running towards the stairs, thinking that maybe he would be able to get out. But it is no use. The quest appears in front of him and shows him that the stairs area is restricted, including all of the exits. Out of the blue, the green monster threw his wooden hammer towards him and made K fall. K thought probably this is gonna be his last moment, but now the quest shows up and states that the adjustments have been made and his account has been linked up to his previous K account to compensate for the server shutdown that happened previously. Rewards have been delivered. K feels so calm suddenly, and it was all because of his previous skill. In his mind, he calculated that this goblin was an F-rank dungeon, and when he used to play Dreamside, he wouldn't even bat an eye to such a creature. So why was he worrying away? Way to go, Kay. And he had the upper hand from the beginning. The power of the main lead had Halo Ring. Kay then picks up his sword and starts to fight back with determination. Come broccoli, come. Come to Papa. Thus, making our Kay a mean slaughter and fulfilling all the quest requests. This is just the beginning. Mission cleared. All monsters are dead on the 13th floor. Our Kay has earned a shabby rag. Does Kay even need it? Now, Kay fully believes that his favorite game really came to life, and today was the release date of its second version. At this point, it has been revealed that Kang Seo-jun is the name of our boy and the MC of this manhwa, Kay, previously Kay. Well, there really is no difference there. The quest states that his biodata and his physique description. Heavenly body, that sure is. He looks like an absolute Giga Chad, and our boy really got it going for him. Dreamside, it is an extremely difficult game where other gaming nerds and advanced players, other newbies could not survive. And even if someone did, in the end they used to quit and end up with a runny nose and eyes like a faucet. Apart from these, there were also these rules that if the player died 3 times, their character would be deleted. That's why there were a few pro players who were almost considered human or inhuman, and they were called the deity tier users. When the server shut down, a poll was hosted and our GOAT tier player, Kay, voted on the heavenly body option, and right now, he was getting it from the day's vote. The hologram quest shows him what type of achievements have been unlocked so far. Our Kay really has no break. The moment when he breathed relief, the monsters were awake once again. Dungeonization. In this episode, we'll be facing this occurrence, where normal areas will be swarmed with monsters, resulting in many people's death. And the MC coming to their rescue, whoosh! As the monsters cannot leave their respective fields, our MC has to fight from the roof within the given time. But in the process, the people of this building will be left behind. As Kay is our MC, and MCs aren't supposed to think about themselves, Kay will be fighting the monster boss from the basement because of the MC built-in instinct, as per the game's previous rules. Kay stands in front of the portal. The bluish light from the portal reflects onto our boy's eyes, showing a firm determination to save innocent people from this parasitization. Kay moves his hand through the unknown and uncanny abyss of the portal, and a swoosh landing on the basement. The game is as predictable as before, especially for a previous #1 gamer. This will be done in a jiffy. Almost everything is predictable, except for the fact that everything is real. Kay faces the Hammer Goblin boss, and puts some intense background music here. And Kay also agrees that it is sure looks like a Hulk. I told you guys, it really does. Under 1 minute, these monsters will have shortness of breath, so Kay needs to calculate his time properly. In its last moments, when it becomes a dungeon, it'll all stop its movements, and Kay, keeping this in mind, will take advantage of this. Kay starts to look around and jumps onto a car. Coward slaughter. The move has been applied, making their monster rage with anger. And due to the rage, these monsters lose all sense of rationality, and they become, dumb. As expected of our MC. Suddenly the monsters move, making our Kay alert, and he moves his sword forward to finish this monster in one easy go. Today's morning is a bit different. Everything should have been as usual, but no. So Yi-hyun, a reporter from a broadcasting channel, states that today's air is denser and heavier than usual, and advises everybody to stay inside and be healthy. Boom. Suddenly, an explosion burst through a private car and a woman laid unconscious on the floor. A bloody and murky spell spread throughout the air. In an instant, it rapidly spread throughout the country beyond its center in Seoul. The internet blew up with this news. Some were terrified, some were in denial that no monster thing had happened, and some succumbed to the media. In the dressing room, a conversation could be heard between a senior and a junior artist. They were talking about the morning occurrence that had happened not too long ago. A gorgeous pink-haired uni asked her makeup artists if it was really the famous game Dreamside. This uni is none other than the famous idol, songwriter, and all-around singer Choi Han-na. She was astonished to watch the news from her phone, where the monsters took over the area. Manager Oppa barged in, saying that Hannah's all schedule for the whole day has been cancelled. Hannah stands up and shows him the parasitization news from before. From this part of the episode, we came to know Hannah has an innocent persona, and she had been a Dreamside player all along. And deity tier players came into the light from this part that was mentioned before. In the game, there were 12 top-notch players that everybody looked up to. Clark, the magic bullet gunner ranking at number 12, was among the best players who used guns unrestrictedly. This camouflage, middle-aged character is none other than the famous idol, Choi Han-na. She even went as far as to use a voice changer. That's why her fans couldn't even get a hint that a girl like Hannah was into this kind of thrill. Manager Nim had confiscated Hannah's phone, as the president had forbidden her to use it during her shoots. But here, Hannah badly needed it again, to gain her skill and items from her account. So she was pulling her phone from the manager's hand. Suddenly, the floor shook, making both Hannah and the manager fall. And taking advantage of this, Hannah stood up and grabbed her phone from the manager's hand. She logged into her account, and her attire changed within seconds, making Manager Nim flabbergasted. Magic Revolver. The Magic Revolver power has been activated, and it really appeared before her eyes, making her eyes go wild. Hannah then confirms herself that everything has been real so far, and couldn't even believe her eyes that one day she would be able to hold a revolver like this in her real life. Suddenly, a portal appeared, and from there, a ghoul came out. Hannah is such a comic relief. Hannah picked up her revolver to kill it in an instant. As soon as she pulled the trigger of her gun, she came to a halt, making both her and the monster look comical. A blue quest popped up showing that the gun was in synchronization process. As soon as it finished doing its stuff, Hannah pulled the trigger, making the ghoul dead. Hannah then proceeds to meet Kay, who is the boss of the game. In the basement parking lot, Kay has finished killing the Hammer Goblin boss. Now a tutorial starts, the Labyrinth of Choice, where Kay needs to clear each tutorial in each difficulty. And the journey has only started. Tutorial map settings. Kay has found himself in the tutorial map for Dreamside. This place has a crazy setting. Kay could smell his surroundings. There are open 3 different pathways: the normal mode, the hard mode, and the hell mode. And this is a labyrinth of choice. This is the final step for the player, as they'll be rewarded with different skills, depending on what path they choose. Easy mode is ranked an F, whereas hell mode is ranked an A. Normally, our boy would choose the hell mode as he's a main character, and of course, main characters never die, even if they die and they fall from the 100th floor. Hell's difficulty is designed in such a way that it's mostly unachievable. But there is our Kay, who has made the impossible possible. The parasitization has spread throughout the world and not only in Korea. Kay is worrying about everyone as if he is in a position to literally help them. He should be thinking about himself first. Stage 1. Hell difficulty. Kay has to save the goddess statue from the golem monster within 5 minutes, and failure to do so will result in death. Kay moves his sword with a swoosh and bang. Bang! The stone golems fall onto the floor. But the oxygen level is depleting, meaning the stone golems will become more and more active. The quest states that. But in proportion to the remaining time, the player gets weaker concerning moves and monsters as they become more active. Kay calculates the monster's moves and starts to fight more accurately. Suddenly, the quest pops up again, stating that Kay has to dodge everything that the monsters throw at him for the remaining 2 minutes. It doesn't seem too long to me. This is a true terror of the hell difficulty. A bushy looking creepy crawly combined golem, kinda looks like a cute spider, came to view. Wow, this golem is loud like a showbill. K will be rewarded with skill if he manages to put this one down. His sword that was unlocked before, the rugged longsword, and now this corrupted hammer, to break this golem's physique came in handy. Sorry for making fun of you, Swordnip. And our K is on his journey to take on this mighty golem. There isn't much time left. K moved forward, his corrupted hammer, to break this giant golem down. K lowered his target to point to attack its fusion core, which is located at its stomach and its weakness. This bushy stone golem fell to the ground within utter seconds. And this is the end. The golem is dead now. K got extra time because of the hammer. The blue hologram states that the skill Dragon Eye has been unlocked. The MC starts to drool like an infant and the gleam in his eyes glows brighter after unlocking this skill. He also got an A, straight A's like a champ. As expected from an Asian. Okay, wait, I'm just kidding, guys. There are many tutorials to go. The day turned into night. Because of the skill Dragon Eye, K's eyes became so active, even in the night like an owl, like my cat trying to find Jerry inside of the house. K moved through the bush and killed all of these slimy, icky monsters. The MC starts laughing like a maniac, as all this was way too easy for him, as it was smurfing for him. He was an A-ranked player, and this little monster was of course F-ranked, so a high-level player was going against a low-life. This is known as smurfing, and our boy really loves it. He really just has to sit back and relax. Suddenly, he fixes his eyes on the tree in front of him, and throws his sword at it. K's eyes caught up on this mana as it was creeping about. This Dragon Eye doesn't miss a thing, and it has ended up completing a hidden mission. Our MC has succeeded in the hidden mission. A hidden stage has been unlocked, and suddenly, out of the mana, a Slime Queen appeared. The Slime Queen is blabbering and threatening our MC with words like, "Today will be the last day," and if he had ignored it, he would have lived blah blah blah. This queen is a prime example of all bark, but literally no bite. The boy then crept from behind and killed it in a second. As the MC cleared all the difficulties, he will be getting his rewards, and the reward is that he'll be an upper level in 5 seconds. It's solo leveling time. It's leveling time. He has moved to a new village, and an upper level waits for him. K has successfully cleared the labyrinth of choice. 3 months had gone by. It's taken longer than he imagined. Currently the time is January 2022, and K needs to figure all of this out. Location: a ruined high school in Seoul. Seemingly, high school students gathered outside the school and are making a commotion. One of the boys is asking something to a policeman, who was sitting on the road in a disheveled state. This is Oh Daiso, the police officer. A student suddenly grabbed his collar and told him how afraid he was, with only one life. He told the officer to stop talking and stop taking everything lightly. The boy is delusional. The officer looks calm from the inside and even more knowledgeable. Here in this part, we are about to enter a dungeon break. It is an occurrence where the monsters multiply their numbers, and they are expelled out of the dungeon, resulting in a red portal. This causes a dungeon to rank high. The dungeon of the school has already gone through a dungeon break, and now the dungeon of the school is about to rank up to a D. And if a dungeon break were to happen and occur, again nobody would survive it. A salesman named Gong Ji-won raises his hand to ask why this dungeon is growing at such a rapid rate. And the policeman replies that it's happening because of the monsters that turned into zombies inside the dungeon. As we see in the movies, Train to Busan, how the undead can contaminate a living thing, turning them into their kind. The horrific things about these mobs is that they can even turn corpses into zombies. Daiso seems optimistic, as it can be seen that he is uniting the people around him to protect their loved ones. He commands everyone to enter the dungeon. Upon hearing his command, people march towards the dungeon. Daiso sighs as there aren't any top-ranking players in this group, but he puts his faith in Hana. Clark is at your service, sir. Kei is searching for players who are still alive. He's looking everywhere, the apartments, schools, as far as he could. He stands still in front of the red portal that was outside the high school. The color of the door shows the condition of the dungeon. Blue is easy, green normal, and the most dangerous one is red, as it shows the increasing number of mobs. It means a dungeon break will occur, and when it completely turns black, then the dungeon break will happen. It is a ruined school. Kei has been given 24 hours to prevent this dungeon break. Suddenly, the quest shows that 22 hours are left, and now 21 hours. The thing is, when a dungeon break starts to speed up in the game, it would spill out more monsters at a faster speed, destroying the villages. And the conclusion is that a dungeon break will occur very, very soon. 20 hours left. The dungeon break. Kei enters the portal. It is an E-rank dungeon. The structure of the dungeon depends on its level. That's why the building objects are several times larger than a human. Kind of like Gulliver's Travel superficially. And this phenomena where the structures grow inside the dungeon is known as expansion. Suddenly, the floor bursts open and a skeleton comes out with a sword tied to the waist by a red cloth. Like a horror movie, poltergeist skeleton scene, not gonna lie, this looks pretty darn funny. And this is the undead skeleton possessed by a cursed spirit. Kei attacks its neck to hit its core and then break it apart. Ding! Kei's level has risen, but there are more of the skeleton attack. Task: surprise attack the enemies 100 times in a row. With one attack, Kei has slaughtered them all, attaining the title of the Master of Surprise Attacks. On the other side, Daiso and the people are still swarmed with skeletons. About 1 hour ago, everything was still calm. Then came the sudden attack of some sneaky players with bird-like masks covering their faces. Who are they? And they're aiming for Choi Hana. Yeah, keep dreaming. Those players start muttering some type of spell. Fight between a redhead player and the police detective. Detective O has a waiver spear he got at the time of the server's downfall. It's darn powerful enough that it has a level restriction to it. The detective moves towards a redhead with his powerful weapon, but the player dodges it as it is too predictable for him. The player then pushes Detective O on the ground with his power and comes near him saying that the detective has lost his touch. After hearing his voice, Detective O looks back to the past as the voice was a little too familiar. And if his memory serves right, he knows that this is Hwang Dong-soo, the infamous serial killer, practically a demon who murdered 7 people. And drumrolls, the players before were crawl criminals and prison inmates. The reason why Dong-soo was behind the detective was because 8 years ago, he arrested him. This is the worst possible scenario. This musty serial killer then tells him the possibility that his inmates might have killed all the innocent people. No sooner has he said this than Kei takes his grand entrance. You are so done for, Dong-soo. Kei interrupts the fight between Daiso and Dong-soo. Dong-soo moves his hand forward, wanting to end Kei's existence. But it is no use, as Kei is our MC, and as cliche as it sounds, of course, the MC cannot die, but I think the cameraman is a bit stronger. Danger detection and dragon eye skills have been activated. Kei concludes that Dong-soo might be a serial killer, aka Red Player. Red players are those who repeatedly kill other players. These kinds of PKers are mostly evil and are considered cancerous. Kei has discovered Dong-soo's weakness and proceeded to finish the inmates one by one. Now, it is Dong-soo's turn to get finished off by our boy Kei. We can see the terror on his face, the terror of being defeated and eliminated. Blood oozes out from his mouth, taking him on the verge of death. Apparently, he was already far gone. Mission Dongsu cleared, and the new achievement of Dungeon Grass being unlocked made Kay's eyes sparkle like the stars. Kay is caught up on the thread and has been leveled up. Oh Dai-so now reveals the sad news that Dongsu had killed his sister in the past, meaning his sister was one of the 7 victims of Dongsu. Currently, Kay and Dae-su, both of them, are having a conversation about the people who entered the portal along with Dai-su. And now, all are split up because of these masked players. These masked players also have the skill and buffs to be misunderstood as mobs. Kay is planning to make use of their dead bodies. Detective O also reveals that those masked people wanted to get their hands on the marksman, the famous bullet gunner, Clark, also known as Choi Han-na. This newly found information left Kay dumbfounded. Kay and Dai-so are now near the auditorium, giving a piggyback ride to the dead masked men. From far, they look both like Ninja Turtles. Kay is too astonished to find out about Hana Choi being the marksman. An idol admired by so many fans would be this amazing of a player. Nobody would ever think of that. Clark, the marksman of the magic revolver, was best known for the skill to handle a gun. Nobody could match their levels when it comes to shooting. Kay still cannot believe it. To think that the bright, cute, cheerful idol Hana would be the poker-faced Clark with a blonde mustache, wearing the gunman's hat, with a fierce personality in the game. Really unimaginable. Detective O addresses Kay by his real name, Seo-jun, and tells him that carrying those dead inmates really has an effect. Effect of being unnoticed by those skeletons on their way out as they are using those masked player skills and buffs that would persist for the next 24 hours even if they are not living. They reach the gym. There on the floor are the signs of the zombie apocalypse. By now, Kay has forgotten the dungeon break time limit until the hologram pops up and states that only 3 hours are remaining. This made Kay sure of his previous hunch about the dungeon break progress being accelerated by somebody. Dungeon Grass that's been unlocked before and now is being used to accelerate the dungeon break. The mobs are creating a flower by mixing the dungeon grass and the dungeon water. The flower looks like a turtle with a veil covering it. Kay finds it quite odd as the mobs will need dungeon water to make the flower. But dungeon water is only available in a higher dungeon like B, and this was an E-ranked dungeon. Kay concludes that there is somebody here who has played the game long enough to unlock dungeon water as compensation for the server shutdown. Kay really hopes the best for Choi Han-na as she might be in grave danger. Here, Choi Han-na is fighting the mobs. A cursed-looking skeleton with horns and muscles with legs, very weird-looking figure who is throwing arrows at Han-na. Author, how the heck did you come up with these figures? And it's so darn powerful compared to Hana. The skeleton opens its mouth and Hana's mind is now all over the place as she is unable to think where to shoot with her magic revolver. Hana thinks calmly for a moment and shoots right to the front where the masked players were standing. Pretty good thing to do. And one of those players died, earning her the item Poison Potion. Suddenly, the quest pops up to Hana, showing her that there are only 3 hours left until the dungeon break. Hana is also thinking the same as Kay. Why does it keep accelerating? If Hana does not defeat it, it will evolve to a D-class beast. Hana goes for the Death Knight and shoots its skull. The Death Knight is knocked out and will continue to be like that for 5 seconds, earning Hana the skill, Bunda Blood. Hana's current body won't even last for long as she needs to find its weakness so that she can pierce it with one shot. The monster wakes up like a ferocious beast, and Hana missed a shot. Oh gosh darn it. Hana is now thinking of the worst possible scenario, like her death. Suddenly, the hologram shows up that a barrier has been created for 3 seconds. And ta-da! Kay finally meets Hana and puts his arms around her waist like a protective hero does for his heroine. Hana asks shockingly, "Who is this?" the person you're looking for, Hana. And a cliffhanger. Cliffhanger, please spare me this time. The chapter starts and Hana meets Kei. The monsters have just evolved. As it'll take time to adjust its body, Hana suggests that they should run away from this place as soon as possible. You don't know, baby, what our Kei is capable of doing. Kei moves his legs to fight the monster, seeing that Hana is dumbfounded and she is literally taken away by our boy's Riz. Kei then borrows this detective weapon, the Wave Rider Spear. This spear creates waves to increase its attack power, and if it is compatible with the user, it cannot express its true potential, becoming sealed. Hana concludes that the guy in front of her is not an ordinary player as he has awoken the magic spear and even managed to grab her when she was in the blood state. He's somebody above level 80 for sure. Hana stood like a bystander and kept watching how Kei was fighting this demon lord. As for Kei, his dragon eye skill has been activated. He uses a spear and some rolling waves appear, keeping the demon in one place. The demon has some pink bead kind of thing around it. The demon's power got shrunken like a dead leaf, and Kei says to himself that he can easily kill it. Seeing this, Hana's face flushed, and she ends up asking about Kei's identity, as he has a high-rank potion like this. Kei didn't even answer, and he says to hurry it up instead. Otherwise, the HP potion will consume her. Hana jumps and goes for the Demon Lord Von DC. This move will keep the Demon Lord stilled for only 3 seconds. Then Kei starts using his Wave Spear. Some rolling cool looking waves appear. This panel looks pretty freaking cool because of these waves. These round waves of water start hitting the Demon Lord, making the Lord fail. And another one of these mobs has been defeated. Just another walk in the park for our boy Kei. Kei has cleared the fallen school, making him level up. Outside the portal, a brown-haired male and some masked players were waiting for Clark, as she was a key to their plan and they couldn't let her leave there alive. They tell one another that Clark might have been dead by the D-class monster. Useless thoughts. Suddenly, the hologram quest shows up in front of these masked players, stating that the fallen school has been cleared and Dungeon Break has been cancelled, and that it will not occur without special events. This makes all the players literally dumbfounded. One of the players might be their boss, who is wearing a red and black mask, seems really nervous, and he looks at his device. His device states that Blacklist 0 has disappeared from the labyrinth of choice. They might be behind the Dungeon Break acceleration, and this player takes his mask off and tells his followers to retreat. And he also states that Kei has gone missing. His delusion is on another level. Here, Kei thanked the detective for lending his weapon to him. Then suddenly, Hana with a flushed face asks Kei the most long-awaited question. Hana asked Kei if he was Kei, the legendary gamer. Kei coughed and was about to answer. Hana is patiently waiting for his reply with a fangirl look written all over her face. Then the detective interrupts him, saying that there's no way Seo-jun might be Kei. Way to spoil the mood, man. Detective O tells Hana that this morning, he was told that the #1 ranked Kei has yet to escape the labyrinth of choice, and even if he did get out and come here while the dungeon break is occurring, it doesn't seem normal. The chance of this is quite slim. Hana concludes that the reasons behind the regions that failed to become a dungeon have not been exposed yet, and she must have misunderstood him as Kei. And children, this is how you misguide a person. Kei internally screams that he is Kei. Hana apologized and thanked him. Kei tells her that there might be survivors and that they should search around. The location: an abandoned storage room in a school. All the survivors were hiding there. Kei is glad that these people did not fight, and instead ran away here to survive. One of the survivors asks Hana if she is okay. Detective O interrupts Hana and says that he is hoping that they could move to the camp first, making Hana pale. He also asks Kei to tag along. He's the only person to call K by his real name so far, so I guess they might be kind of close. In the camp, K and Hana both were fighting fiercely. They are now in front of Bonju Station 3. The mobs that gained freedom through the dungeon break were in a small confined place for a long time and wouldn't come here in a big place like this, so this place was really a safe one. When they came back, all the survivors came to life. Detective O asks K to take rest. K thought to himself that so much has happened in one day, and as soon as K lets his guard down, his eyes split open. He suddenly remembers that he has not checked his rewards yet. K has got Fondisi's Blade of Regret, a blade that is filled with regret from Fondisi who died without any retaliation. And its unique trait is it can envelop the blade in frost, and it is also a B-grade weapon, but of course this is no use to K. K is figuring his stats out. The thing detective can use a spear without not being leveled up left him in confusion. That sums up the fact that one can use it with a small penalty. To use the book, K needs to be at a higher level. He just needs to put in some more effort. Suddenly, a Pokemon-looking blue hamster appeared. His name is Gorong, and has awakened upon the owner's, aka K's, will. Rumble! It's the sound of Gorong's stomach. He is extremely hungry and loves the smell of delicious food. From this panel, we come to know that Gorong used to follow K around on Dreamside as his pet. Gorong's real form is a dungeon-eating monster, the monster Gregory. Really excited to see this cute little thing on some awesome timing. We then head to chapter 12, and Gorong, an old pet of the MC who only eats dungeon monsters to grow, only reacts to something related to a dungeon. K is wary of Gorong's reaction. The people here are suddenly having a flushed face and blackened fingers. K is really skeptical of the people that surround him. He is now thinking that there might be a possibility that these people around him might be the mobs, and they camouflage themselves all the way here. But he could be wrong. Detective O tells everybody that they need to kill the skeletons, but the people were pretty much interested in not that. Something might be fishy or they're just afraid. That's why Detective O tells them if the skeletons start to scatter away from the place, then more people will end up dying. And it's a chance for them to level up, as these mobs are strong because of the dungeon. Because they get a buff from it. It is called the Blessing of the Dungeon. Now they're out and much weaker. It is currently 3 PM. The sun is at its highest, making the undead at their weakest. Detective O asks them to choose. It's all been decided who will be in the hunting team and camp defense team. In this panel, we can see K muttering that he needs to find something, and so he can't miss the chance. As they have not been introduced yet, they're telling each other about themselves. First is Detective Choi. He's a cop and pretty confident with close-range combat. Hearing this, K says to himself that Detective O has the most potential among everyone. The salesman from Chapter 6, Gong Ji-won, a blonde, introduces himself as if he was out here to enjoy this. As a field trip, I don't know about you guys, but this guy seems pretty naive. Now Hana introduces herself and everybody's eyes starts twinkling. But to their dismay, Hana just states her level is 79, and she is good with guns. Then she leaves with an unbothered look. She's an idol and doesn't need an introduction, duh. There came Jang Gi-yoon, the rich punk, chatty overgiver who gives too much information to show off his own wealth, wearing an expensive cash item from Dreamside Equipment. And now, it is our boy K. Detective O is really noisy, and K cannot speak for himself. Why does the detective need to introduce K to everybody? Darn it, dude. The public starts a commotion about who K is. K's real face, even his name, is unknown to everyone. K is his gaming name from Dreamside 2, and his real name is Kang Seo-jun. As soon as K opens his mouth to introduce himself, that brat Jang Gi-yoon interrupts him, saying that he knew him from high school, and smirks. Then we are given a flashback of K sitting on the floor, with garbage being thrown at him. Then Gi-young starts spewing some crap again, like how K's family is going bankrupt. What do you guys even expect from this garbage? And of course, he's a bully. And Hana comes in to the spot to save K. She asks Gi-young to apologize. Whoa, the most awaited moment is here. K, with a confident look, tells everybody that he is K. The look on Gi-young's face, I really want to see everybody's reaction. Too stunned to speak, the look on everybody, including Jang Gi-young, looks like they have seen a ghost, and now we say that. And the detective, he is shocked from his core. Hana's face is flushed with a fangirling aura. Hana says with the I knew it look that her intuition could never go wrong. Detective O is scratching behind his head, and he apologizes to K for the misunderstanding. Hana with twinkling eyes asks K if he came out of the maze the previous day, and Jang Gi-young's face is too comical to look at. The jaw-dropping look as if hearing the news, his jaw did revolt and dropped to never come back. But this Jang Gi-young then raged with his fire and told everybody that K is lying to everybody. This dude's audacity. Suddenly, his gaze falls onto the DC item, the boss. Jang Gi-young smirks and asks K about his level. He then replies, I was at level 37. Suddenly, Jang Gi-young snorts and tells K if he was going to pretend to be K, he should have done so with doing research because K is a foreigner. And hearing this, K narrows his eyes. It is a bright sunny day. K and the team are on the road. The undead left a trail of destruction behind them all over the street. K's Dragon Eye skill has been activated. K found all the skeletons one by one in the alleyway, left corner, and even under the car behind them like a hawk. This made Jang Gi-young dumbfounded. Now the battle starts. The skeletons are in too many numbers. One of the players were getting weaker and weaker. There came Hana to the rescue. Here, Gi-young was being a nuisance to K, like a real bully. This garbage really stinks like a yellow trash with his hair looking like that. But K considers him one of the very few people that were kind to him during high school, as Gi-young would ask him to get him snacks, and then K would get some money. K's childhood is pretty bad, and he's way too kind for his own good, guys. K lets Gi-young have his own way. Right now, K has to deal with something more important than leveling up. Here, Gorong the goofball was consuming things like he was starving. Gorong is so cute, nom nom nom. Gorong has consumed a rusted longsword, a broken helmet, and a skeleton, and his satisfaction is rising higher and higher. K asks Gorong if he still smells something delicious nearby, as Gorong is a dungeon-eating monster, so his smell indicates that some mobs might be nearby. And as usual, K is right. K finds some skeletons hurtling over them. K starts to fight, but there was nothing in them, as they were empty like a normal skeleton. K finds out Gorong did this to consume some delicious food within 1 meter of his owner. Gorong loves these skeletons, also known as his food. This sneaky little dude. The sun is about to set. The undead buff will soon return. So, they need to head back as soon as possible. Detective O is happy with their progress, but he stops halt behind K as K is sitting on the floor feeding Gorong all the skeletons. Gorong's tummy looks like it will burst soon, guys, and he lets out a very satisfied burp. Suddenly, Gorong's eyes change, indicating that a buffet is nearby. What kind of ability is that? And I would like to have it. K senses it and tells the detective to look into the flower shop. Everyone is forbidden to directly breathe in here, and they put their hands on their nose. The quest appears and it states, it is a virus eradication, and it is an E-class dungeon, a deadly garden. Everyone needs to eradicate the plant king that continues to spread the spore virus throughout the deadly garden within 30 minutes and will be rewarded a flower bud of the plant king. Failure to do so will result in a dungeon break, and we don't want that. And this was the suspicious thing that Gorong was indicating before when people's fingers blackened. The dungeon made it happen. It is known as dungeon sickness. Within Dreamside, there is a wide variety of dungeons such as the normal ones, where an abandoned school is inhabited by goblins and the undead, themed ones with specific types in mind, and the kind of deadly garden, where unmovable botanical mobs thrive. At the time of undergoing a dungeon break, they will release spore viruses instead of mobs. Previously, people that got sick showed these symptoms. If the virus enters a human body, the body becomes a deadly parasite that transforms humans into monsters. The people that got sick were all like non-player characters, or NPCs, and without any barrier from it, it made them all sickly. For players with E-class resistances, it wouldn't cause any damage, but still K does not want it to evolve any longer. As the sun is setting soon, it is a perfect time for the mobs to come out and hunt their prey. But the players need to eliminate this deadly garden mob. Otherwise, everybody will be in danger, including the ones that are at the station. They don't have much time, but they march toward it with resolve in their faces to bring this monster down. Kei, the detective, and Hana, even the yellow-haired Pooh guy Gi-young. I really hope this becomes a comic relief in the future chapters, as he really is dumb. Even the cute little Gorong all had the same firm expression on their face, the expression to eliminate these botanical mobs. They're in the forest, they're in their best form. The detective thinks he could ask for nothing more. Before entering this dungeon, they decided to do a small-scale attack and selected the best members to enter the dungeon, while the remaining members returned to the camp. Hannah's face is all lovey-dovey when Kei asks her to do something behind the scenes, and Gi-young's face is just too comical to look at. If there were only Kei and Hana, it'd be totally fine, but they needed 4 people according to the dungeon's requirement. The detective Kei, Hana, and Gi-young set out on this mission. They selected Gi-young because his equipment has some good self-defense stats, as he is a high level. He also shouldn't die in an E-class dungeon. However, the stinky yellow-haired dude again was spouting some nonsense. He still thinks that Kei is a high-level faker and disagrees with the lineup. He really is getting ahead of himself. Then he picks up a dungeon apple and tells Kei to learn something from him. As soon as he is about to eat it, the tree branches snap, making an explosion of thorns. Poking his face serves him right, as he is full of air. Hana, with annoyance, tells him to be more careful of his surroundings. Detective O is rethinking his decision of taking Gi-young with them. They stand in front of the owner's room of this dungeon, the boss mob. Its name is the Plant King, and is inside of the greenhouse. It is a type of sunflower. It tends to observe people as they wait for their deaths. Cruel. That's why skilled players often call these death flowers, which is a much more suiting name. The mobs that have kings in their names tend to be stronger than other mobs. If they defeat the Plant King, they can get a flower bulb to use as an antidote. As a result, they can cure the sick with it. They smell thickened mostly like sewers. Suddenly, the Plant King starts to attack without a single warning. Kei and Hana start fighting the mobs. Gi-young interrupts Kei as he will kill these things himself. But Kei pushes him down and tells him to look beneath. Kei tells him that there will be a lot of plants near the Plant King and suggests that if Gi-young doesn't know anything about it, he shouldn't approach it. Kei's Dragon Eyes skill has been activated. Hana asks Kei if he has more potions so that he can give them to Hana, and Hana will easily defeat these mobs. Kei refuses to hand over the potions, as this is too precious to hand over, as he hadn't been able to level up. Saying this, Kei marches towards the king plant and starts attacking it ferociously. This made Gi-young speechless. Kei finishes off the king plant without even breaking a sweat. Hana and Detective O are proud of him, whereas Gi-young's face is as white as paper, and I think he's sad because our boy Kei burst his bubble. Mission Plant King has been cleared. The chapter starts and a new level has been achieved. K has made the difficult thing look so easy. K has gained the Flower Bulb and the Thorn Gauntlet of Kakashi. Thorn Gauntlet of Kakashi is a gauntlet made out of the Plant King's body, as thorns, and its unique skill is Thorn. Way to go, Kakashi, making it all the way here. This skill will allow the device on its forearm to be used as a short sword. As K does not have any weapon restrictions because of his heavenly body skill, this thing is actually quite useful. Kang Seo-jun, also known as K, he's now at level 40. Gi-young is still pretty much traumatized by the fact that K is actually K, and is still in processing mode. They all came back to the camp. Signs of destruction could be seen. Something must have happened to the camp. They went inside the Bonju station. K follows a trail of footsteps. The footsteps kept moving back and forth. Voices could be heard from afar. People are asking for help. Detective O goes near to them and sees one of the people, a sick male. He tries to wake him up, but to no avail. Suddenly, the quest shows up and states that a potion of revitalization is required. It means there is no way this person could be saved without this potion. The sick person is being fed the paralysis potion to lessen the pain that he is suffering. He wakes up and the detective asks about a few things and what happened during their absence. The sick man tells him that when they were gone, a large monster appeared at the stairs. They tried to attack as they practiced before, but suddenly the people were behind them started to turn into zombies and literally attacked each other. K is muttering to himself, if only they had healers in the station, they did not have to worry about the virus and could heal him. Dungeon sickness has 3 different stages. In the first stage, the fingertips change colors and causes just a regular cold. In the second stage, those sick people turn into zombies and attack each other. And in the third stage, they fully become a monster. The monster is a total art piece. K thinks that somebody might be behind them, as they already cleared the deadly garden. The sick male is already dead. Detective O, Hana, and K and Gi-young keep moving forward. They got no break as the monsters are lurking behind the uncanny darkness. Who could be behind this mess? People that have changed already cannot be cured. There are dead bodies on the railway as they followed this route to escape. The people that turned into zombies came crawling upward to attack them, but K kills them in a jiffy, like killing a mosquito. In this panel, Detective and Gi-young's face, especially Gi-young, looks like a golden haze statue. Gi-young sure is such a funny dude. They reached the Shin Pump station as they kept walking. This is known as a ghost station. The station was abandoned after the plans for Line 10 fell apart. Here, the footprints are fresh and it seems like the owners of the footprints headed towards the Yeongyong-po station. That is the place where the detective and his people originally planned to go in case of a sudden emergency. Suddenly, a red-eyed zombie appears and emerges. It was Yu Ju-young who turned into a monster. K insists on killing it as it is no longer a human, and they need to kill it to survive. The fate of the world depends on it. K needs to end it in a single strike. But the monster is sturdy and it won't even budge. It is a monster that has gone through stage 3. K looks for its opening. K finds it and kills it with a swoosh. But the thing is, after going through the 3rd stage of dungeon sickness, Yu Ju-young turned as equal to the D-class dungeons mob, and in a normal state, K would not be able to fight it. Fortunately, he leveled up all his quest stats to level 100 during the tutorial. If he uses up all the level points that he has, he would be 3 times as strong as he is at the moment. Nonetheless, if he is at this level, those that used to be called Celestials, if those Celestials were at level 100, their actual stats would have been much higher. And the dungeons, you know that they never wait for players. The 3rd stage of dungeon sickness turns normal people into monsters. K, Hana, Detective O, and Gi-young, they're all completely surrounded by these monsters. Surprisingly, Gi-young kills one of the monsters easily. These stage 3 monsters are known as one of the 7 deadly sins. Greed. This is stage 3 of dungeon sickness, which causes people to transform from their human state to a full monster state. Everyone goes through different transformations. Some gain wings, some gain more arms or legs, and some even gain or lose weight. I think that's the one I would probably stick with. The interesting thing is that people evolve based on the greed or desires in their hearts. If you want to deal with them, you will need to find their inner and deep desires. If these transformed monsters manifest extra eyes, this means that when they were humans, either they lost their eyes or they want to see something more. Kei understands this and easily kills it. Kei's weapon, Kakashi Thorn Gauntlet, has been activated. While it'll be more dangerous since the attack range is shorter than a longsword, the item itself will be effective. With a powerful punch, Kei destroys the monsters with ease, and our boy Kei looks super cool in this panel. Seeing this, Yeong's soul starts to melt like vanilla ice cream on a hot summer day. Kei's Dragon Eye skill also has been activated. Now Kei is wary of the situation as they are entering the trigger area, and he tells everybody to be careful. This area has a stage 3.5 and is a nearly stage 4 monster, which is new to them. It seems like the dungeon break from the fallen stage has initially caused this. Looks like somebody fed the target the dungeon flower and created the trigger. The trigger acts as a source of dungeon sickness. If the spore virus enters the body and starts to multiply, the symptoms will become way worse. If the trigger isn't stopped, the dungeon sickness will consume the whole of Seoul. That is utterly terrifying. On the floor, some slimy substance could be seen, making the shoes sticky. The monster is swallowing a whole human. This terrifying scene could be seen from afar. The zombie might be a YouTuber? Dead bodies were piling up on the floor, spreading a strong smell throughout the air. The trigger is like the greed. After swallowing the dungeon flower, it depends on the desire that determines the monster's form. From the signs of battle on their way to Banju Station, and from what Kei mentioned, it looks like somebody intentionally put the trigger inside of Banju Station. Just from the amount of mana this monster has, it looks to be over level 100, and it should be equal with a D-rank middle boss. Kei is muttering to himself that just by looking at it, he could tell that this trigger does not have any other stats lower than them. And Dreamside isn't a game that could be won just because somebody is on a higher level or just has better stats. Just like someone can defeat a level 100 mob boss despite being level 40. Each monster has its own characteristics and activated buffs. In certain situations, the monster is strong despite being at a low level. The monster that is in front of them, either it's really strong or it has most of its stats concentrated into health. This giant monster is shouting. They all recognized that voice. It seems in human form, he was Choi Mon-ki, the YouTuber, and due to a live stream video, Choi Mon-ki was given the death penalty, and from the further panels, we got to know he was a cannibal and he was eating human meat on stream. Even monkeys are better than this lowlife. And when he was long gone, even before becoming a zombie, he was already a monster. Suddenly, this monster's hands start growing into multiple parts. Kei cannot let his guard down, even for a moment. To buy some time, Detective O grabs his attention. What a top G. Taking advantage of it, Kei tries to attack, but of course it is no use. This monster is imitating how in human form he used to kill his victim. As soon as this monster's gaze falls upon Hana, it tries to capture her. But Hana pulls the trigger of her magic revolver. It won't budge. Kei thinks that Choi Mon-ki concentrated all of his stats on health, but once needs stamina to live. Hana and Kei are in perfect synchronization. Hana pulls her trigger, and Kei punches through his gauntlet, making the attack work on the monster. With Kei's dazzling eyes admiring the view in front of him, this chapter comes to an end. Their attacks work on the monster. Kei tells the detective, that even though they can inflict some damage on it through the attack, this monster won't die from small attacks like this. But K has a plan to defeat the monster. Here, Gi-young is distracting the monster. Though he has some fancy looking armor, he isn't that much of a fighter, and that sizzle that glitters is not gold. Gi-young's expression is getting funnier and funnier with time. Right at this moment, Hana attacks, and it works. K wants Hana and Gi-young to lure the monsters into one place so that he can deliver the final blow. His current magic statistics are at 100. Changing a stat by 100 will make a huge difference. If he invests the points that he earned during the tutorial, it might even be possible to use unique skills that were unlocked until he reaches the level 200. Then he will be able to execute the plan that he intended to do long ago. Skill magic has been activated. If the opponent is strong, then K needs to become stronger, just like any other anime. The monster is muttering, "Like and subscribe." Oh, and K casts on that and tells it that he will like and subscribe just like it asks and will do it twice. You guys heard him, make sure to like and subscribe. Then he finishes it as per his plan, earning him the Attention Seeker's ring. Now that Choimon Ki is dead, the mana within his body is evaporating into the atmosphere. But there is a golden symbol on its body, and K needs to figure out what this could mean. Inside a dimly lit room, a hollow sphere of glass is glowing, something like a witch ball. A person wearing a cape that hides its features is using the sphere to keep tabs on K's every move, just like a witch. The person is managing 5 farms within Seoul. Though he checks on the triggers of every farm, every once in a while, this is the first time he has seen somebody capable of using an attack as strong as that. Suddenly, from behind, a voice calls, and this man is by Giga-chan. Oh, sorry, it is by Gi-chan. The owner of the voice is Kong Min-ho, and the cape guy is Bae Gi-chan. Both are affiliated with the company. Bae Gi-chan sure is handsome, but unfortunately is a bad guy. Looks can be deceiving, guys, never forget that. The company is the dark side of Dreamside. That is a bar. It consists of a small group expanding the dungeons within Dreamside, endangering people as cancerous beings to the world. The people who associate with this company have a golden symbol of a lightning bolt piercing 2 moons. The symbol, the trigger, also known as the one that Choimon Ki had, Bae Gi-chan takes a sphere-shaped glass near Minho, and they thought that K was eliminated. Now this move has shocked them to the core, as K is still alive and is utterly defeating these monsters left and right. Way to go, RMC is just too OP. Minho states that the newbie that they sent to the Labyrinth of Choice has reported that K is alive, and the number of challenges at hell difficulty is now 0, and this is all because of our boy K. Minho and Gi-chan are contemplating if K really is alive. If that happens, then it'll become an issue for them, as K is going to ruin their grand schemes. So they'll have to cooperate to locate K, but Gi-chan tells Minho that K might have already found them. Gi-chan is still thinking about K, his skill, and that hunch K might have already been advanced, and already the matter has gone out of their reach. Minho puts a halt to Gi-chan's thoughts. He tells Gi-chan that he will let the higher-ups know about this, and they are sure that this is the K, and then they will surely eliminate him. Keep on dreaming, our boy is not getting eliminated. We are in an underground tunnel. Seemingly, the salesman from before is running from the monsters that have been chasing him. He ran into the wrong direction, and if he doesn't head back, he won't be able to meet up with Detective O, and he will surely die. Suddenly, a train comes in his direction, and the quest shows up that the train will be leaving soon, and all users need to get on the train ASAP as soon as possible. The salesman guy barely gets on the train and saves himself from the monsters. If he stays on the train, he might be able to get to the Yeongdeong post station and meet up with Detective O. He hopes that nothing bad will happen. As soon as he finishes thinking like this, the hologram quest shows up, showing him that he has entered the D rank dungeon, the Running Ghost Train. Oh gosh, guys. It is a themed dungeon, and an attendant will show up soon to check his ticket. If he does not have a ticket, he will be the target of the attendant. And in this place, nobody can even rest for a minute. This guy is now horrified. Gets rid of the tigers only to get bitten by a snake later on. Yongyong Post Station's underground tunnel. Whoa. Yeon's personality took a sudden 360-degree turn. And now our boy is a K fanboy. He is admiring K, fully believing that he is truly K. Hana thinks maybe Yeon has gotten the dungeon sickness. No way. Detective O tells K that he thinks that it is possible that this place doesn't have any survivors. If the trigger was closing off the tunnel like that, he doesn't think anybody would be capable of escaping it. But K refutes his statement, as he thinks there are survivors and he is sure of it. He thinks of this as fishing. The ones that escaped are most likely infected, and somebody is purposely letting people survive. If the survivors are found once by the herd, they will be eaten alive. The trigger was made artificially and the symptoms will keep getting worse, creating a new trigger again like Choi Mon-ki, the YouTuber. K doesn't know the person behind this yet, but won't let the people get away, especially if it's them. He could be talking about the company. And yes, it's the company again. They were non-player characters who were considered to be on the bad side. They could generate quests. They used it to recruit players to join them. Since they were slowly growing their ranks, a single player managed to wipe them out, and the player is none other than K. Let's go, guys. During that time, K took the time to clear each of the dungeons they created to relieve stress, and for a while, his enjoyment in Dreamside was destroying the company. That is why those people affiliated with the company, of course, hate K to the core. But Dreamside was no longer a game, but a reality. K mutters to himself that whether this is a real company or if a player group is just following the company, he needs to keep an eye out for them. They are now at the Yongyongpo station. From here, another mystery starts to unfold. At the Yongyongpo station, Detective O is telling everyone about the rail tracks. In case of an emergency, his people were to use his track as an alternative. He lifted a cloth and a stash of supplies came into view. K tells the detective to bring these pieces of stuff with them, as it would be useful to the people who are currently at the Banju station. They're moving these items. Suddenly, a fallen can of Coke catches the eyes of Detective O. His eyes beam with happiness that somebody might have been there. But K puts a halt to the detective's thoughts as he asks about the people of Banju Station, if they're players or not. He also adds that he does not know that children and elderly people, even the wounded, can't be players. But most ordinary soldiers can become one if they pass the tutorial. Hana speaks up and tells him about the disruption of the internet. That's why many people could not become players. She also tells him about the Ark, which is the largest and the last refugee center in Seoul. Here at the Banju station, a person with a black cape and bird mask was leading his team. The person is affiliated with the company and he's the team leader, Yoon Byung-gu. They are all standing in front of the themed dungeon, the D-Class train. His people are asking him about the train, about Bae Gi-chan's orders. The leader tells him to shut up and then he mutters something about the goblins, creating some sort of mystery around it. Seoul's last refugee center, the Ark. A team representing Noah's Ark is surely a perfect name for the last refugee center. Kay thinks for a while and says that the remaining survivors might have headed in this direction. But Detective O and Gi-young have already moved past him and they think otherwise. Suddenly, Kay's face changes into an expression as if he had Taco Bell last night, and Gorong springs from his pocket. This cute monster starts to make a happy go dance as he smells the delicious snacks nearby. Now, Kay finds his behavior suspicious. Suddenly, he announces that this place, There's someone out there. Gorong also agrees. All of a sudden, they all start to run like Olympic sprinters, and those people, they're not humans, and they're trying to lure K and his people in like a moth to a flame. Let's see what our MC does in this situation. The chapter starts, and K and his people are now in the waiting room. As soon as the golden-haired boy starts to open his mouth, an arrow at full speed stops right in front of his eyes, making him flinch. The person who made the arrow stop is our boy, of course the MC. K makes full use of his powerful gloves. Out of nowhere, smoke starts to fill the place, and arrows start to come one after another. One arrow was about to directly hit Hana, and K was just about to warn her. But Hana crushed the arrow with her revolver at light speed. Seems like K was worried for nothing. They all got ready to fight these hostile monsters. K sees a silhouette of something and was about to attack it, but the monster appeared suddenly, making him stop at what he was doing. This monster, apparently a kobold, looks like a fusion of a rhino and a hippo. Then it suddenly clicks to him that this thing might not be a monster, but Hana was ready to shoot it. Maybe he was too late. Here, Hana had already done the deed. Pin dropped silence. To his relief, Hana did not shoot towards the kobold, as she found something suspicious within. Intuition in overdrive. Yi-young had become a fan of K in the meanwhile. He is all smiles and shines around him, and this makes K shudder. Back to the kobold's topic, this weird-looking thing is not a monster, and in fact, a human. These creatures are players from different groups, and despite their absurd look, their name on the quest is white, meaning that they are not monsters. K then asks the prudent leader of the group, Shin Hyun-woo, why they attacked K's team at that moment. The wise leader replies that it was all a misunderstanding, since they thought of K and his team as the workers. Shin Hyun-woo starts to tell his story. This takes us to the flashback. It was the opening day of Dreamside. A 23-year-old, normal-looking guy with a beanie had found the quest of Dreamside and tried to fit in. This is Shin Hyun-woo. As a previous gamer, he was quite experienced in everything. In the process, he met the Yeongdeung-pu survivors and tried to make everything work. There, he encountered the maze of choice and cleared it with his longsword. He was the only person to clear this normal difficulty. All people around him made him the focus, where he barely got it together. So without any high-level players, their team was bound to get crushed. At that time, a mysterious merchant appeared at the Yeongdeung post station and supplied them with survival items. But this man was a fraud. The merchant started to ask for money in return, and of course, for the goods that he had been providing them. But the players didn't have that much money with them. All along, they've been victims of deception. The merchant was giving them items that were drugged and even made them sign a contract that had a large sum of money as a fine. In case of a failure to pay the directed amount, their bodies would be captivated. The merchant took their bodies and forcibly put their souls into these kobolds. After that, a thing called Worker appeared, and he took their memories from them as an interest. Back to the present, K is asking Hyun-woo about the workers and the debt. Hyun-woo tells them that the debt is the same for both. But this is an unsettling, as Hyun-woo and his people have different kinds of memory loss. Some lost their ability to speak, and some even forgot their entire life. So why the difference was this huge among Hyun-woo and his teammates? It all starts to make sense when K and his people start to find the errors. It's happening because the amount of memory each person has is different from one another. Hyun-woo has 23 years worth of memory, and the person next to him is probably a child with no memories. That's why Hyun-woo is trying his best to defeat the workers. Detective O states that the person inside a kobold is a living human. The human is considered the monster without a memory. Here, Hyun-woo was preparing for the war against the worker. The workers appeared right after that moment. The workers are hairy and ugly versions of Avatar with long horns and elf ears. A hybrid, of course. Hyun-woo and his mates are shooting arrows and explosive things towards the worker. But the worker is unmoved even with all the grenades and explosions. He gives an evil laugh and starts talking about the interest that they all need to pay. The kobolds are getting weaker and weaker. But when a team has a player like K, there's nothing to be worried about. Here K comes. K starts to fight the worker intensely with his gloves. The worker is a first-class goblin and problematically he's a player too. The goblin became such a thing by killing his own kind. He uses a stony spear to take the goblin down. Here the goblin was laying flat on the floor. K made his attack. This goblin was dead. Boom! An explosion was heard in the back. There comes a second goblin, looking kind of burnt, red hot peppers kind of, with all its avatars. One look, and K has found his main prey to hunt. He gives the rest of the responsibility to Hana, as he's about to take this goblin down. He marches towards the goblin and attacks it with force. Blam! This pepper-looking goblin is not so seasoned anymore as he crumbles onto the floor. The second worker has been defeated and K's levels have been upgraded. That earns him a two-sided contract, where it has been stated that the contractor has a right to use a contractee at any time, and however they want, even a sacrifice. At the contractee must pay the contractor. Such an unfair contract. And this was the contract that Hyunwoo and his people had signed. Sacrificial lamb. Hana and Detective all defeated the rest of the goblins. Suddenly, the air around them slowly started to turn pink. Apparently, it's the player's souls trapped inside the goblin, and now that they are dead, it slowly starts and all the souls start to combine, making a pink hue. Even the writings of the contract slowly start to disappear. The kobolds are dead. K tells everyone to follow the souls as the players, especially the children, might be in danger. They all start to run as fast as Usain Bolt, and I don't think that's an understatement, but come to a halt after facing the train, the themed dungeon. K is shocked to find this incomplete track of lines, as there should be incomplete lines. So how come a train like this is stationed here? Suddenly, Gorong comes out of his pocket and starts doing happy moves like a golden retriever who is excited for his food. It only means some monsters are nearby. The doors of the train are opening, and K awaits his new journey, a new journey on this themed dungeon. There are different kinds of dungeons on the dream side. Moving dungeons are one of them. They are in the form of boats, planes, trains, and etc. This train in front of them is one kind of moving dungeon. The combined soul enter the train. K is contemplating whether they should enter the dungeon or not. He asks for Detective O's opinion. If they enter the train, they'll lose a chance of finding the survivors of Bonju Station. Detective O is a very rational person, and after much thought and consideration, he says that it's better to enter the dungeon than to chase a mirage, as there might not be any survivors and no signs of battle. Also, they can't just waste their time on a mere assumption. It sounds cruel, really, but it's better to save the children's life who are alive and in front of them in the form of kobolds, rather than chasing after people who may or not be alive. So Hana, Detective O, and Kiyoung with a pale face, along with K, all enter the dungeon. The salesman from before, Gong Ji-won, a member of the Skeleton Guild, is panting as if a bunch of leopards just chased him. The quests are stating that he has failed to show a ticket and has been confirmed to be a free rider. Now he has become the target of the attendants. One of the attendants arrives, a baby goblin. If this is a baby, then I'm an embryo. The baby goblin sure looks like a flat-faced statue with big hands and feet. Even the bullnose rings as well, like my neighbor's Big Mac. And G1 is supposed to defeat this goblin within 10 minutes. There are tons of them, and they're behaving like frisky chihuahuas. They even start to party all over G1's head. They're just toying with him at this point. It was only the start. Now the main meal comes, as they start to attack with a full blow, and a grown version of the goblin appears, making him fall. Out of nowhere, the undead also starts to move all on fours. The people who are parasites now. He was in a tight situation like that. One tight poop and constipation. And couch of the train. The baby goblins were looking for G1. This is the situation when K arrives and saw all these. The baby goblins are around level 70 and powerful, and they love to eliminate humans. The train is a D-class dungeon, and as a result, this looks more like a compartment of steam trains rather than a metro. This is not an ordinary dungeon, and they're not underground anymore. As soon as they enter the dungeon, the quest starts to pop up one by one. The same monologue starts to play out, like the time of Ji-won's arrival. If they want to clear this dungeon, they will need to figure out the rules of this dungeon and solve it. Detective, Hana, and Kei start to fight the goblins ordinarily. By the way, why is Gi-young's face always sweaty? Is he a hemorrhoid patient or something? Through their fighting, they obtained tickets. This made them jolt as they cleared this couch. But the train has so many couches like this. If they start to fight like this, they'll need months. So Kei suggests that they think out of the box. Here, Goron was feasting on the tickets. Hana asks Kei if it's really alright for them to throw the tickets away, as they'll become the targets of the attendants. And this is exactly what Kei wants, the attention of the train attendants. Though it seems dangerous, they need to clear this dungeon differently. So, they'll need the attendants to check their tickets to defeat this dungeon and save the children. Gi-young noticed the goblins as they're crawling away, and asks his lord Kei if they're afraid of him. As always, Gi-young is speaking gibberish and being ignored. The quest announces that since they failed to show tickets, soon they'll become the prey of the goblin. The first goblin, also known as the station attendant, arrives wearing a black suit. He asks for tickets. Kei proudly tells him that he does not have any, and anticipates the next move of the goblin. The station attendant grumbles. No sooner has he moved his hand forward than Kei attacks him with a full-blown punch. The goblin somersaulted and came back with a stone spear. But Kei dodged him and gives the goblin a punch with his legs. Thus, he captured the goblin and caught his horns. The goblin has waved a white flag. Now he's making a pouty face as he refuses to give any answers to Kei's questions. Kei's attacking him with a full-blown charge. Seeing this, Gi-young is remembering the past, the time when he used to badmouth him. Hana and the detective became a Moai statue. The quest pops up showing them that they have failed the quest. This makes Kei laugh as if the final quest was as simple as this, and the whole quest would have been futile. Here, the goblin was trying to waste Kei's time and started singing a song. Bro really think he's a singer. Kei again asked him where he kept the souls. After the final blow, he tells him that the souls are in the D area, where all merchants are gathered together. Then Kei asks him to give him the key to that area. The first goblin was again avoiding him, but Kei managed to take the key from him. In this panel, Kei looks like a pissed-off mom scolding her toddler. Thus, the first goblin has been defeated and his pouch has also been taken away by Kei. Kei has earned the hidden item, the master key. Kei no longer wants to waste his time, but the people around him start to ask him questions about the goblin, if the goblin really wasn't a player. Then Kei describes to them that goblins are different from those soul-stolen kobolds. To be a goblin, one needs to murder his own kind or eat his own kind. In other words, they need to eat human flesh. So the first goblin wasn't even a victim in the first place. They all enter a compartment. There, the quest shows them that they've achieved the high-speed Dungeon Breaker title. The amount of experience that they gather from dungeons will increase by a lousy 2%. It's still pretty good though. Detective O asks Kei if it's alright to enter this place, as he has heard that one cannot defeat themed dungeons without clearing the quests. Kei tells him that the route they've chosen is an Easter egg, or the cheating method where they need to find shortcuts without wasting their time on such a tight timing. They enter the guest room tree shelter, the F5 safe area where all the merchants were having their meals. The evil merchant player Song Deokpal asks Kei if he has a ticket. Kei smirks and tells him that he doesn't have one. This makes Deokpal rage with fury. Master Kei, please show him who's the real boss here. Kei suddenly starts to talk about the weather, that it's very hot outside. Dun dun. Hearing this, Deokpal becomes speechless. Not only him, but the whole team became such. Deokpal's face softens once he heard this. Detective O tells Hana to be ready. Here, Deokpal's personality took a 180-degree turn as he was inviting them to a full-course meal. They all are now in the dining lounge. the merchants start to introduce themselves one by one. Song Deok-pal is a traveling merchant. The one with the specs is Kang. Everything went over the detective's head, as he couldn't process any of this, like some dad jokes. Kay then tells him about the secret code that he got from the goblin pouch. The tree shelter code isn't the weather hot today. It all makes sense now. Some of the merchants were all lovey-dovey with Hana already and asking for her autograph. Kay needs to get full information about the contract from these merchants. That was his original intention. But suddenly, some goblins appeared and started fighting them. Deok-pal made an evil smirk and tells Kay that he was an idiot and that the code he told him was last month's code. As soon as Deok-pal finished saying this, he ordered the goblins to kill Kay and his team. And his team were fast enough to tackle the situation. They all killed the goblins at once. But things did not end there. Detective O activated his magical spear and the merchants were now at his mercy. The tables have turned. Kay is now interrogating Deok-pal and asking him to tell everything. Deok-pal suddenly utters the name Lord Jack, the 9th ranker, and thinks that this might scare them away. But Kay starts to laugh like a maniac, making the people around him shocked. Then, he proceeds to tell everybody about Jack. Ranker 9, the dungeon merchant Jack. He rose to the top with a non-combat class. He's a mirage and someone who appears every time a customer needs him, and leaves as soon as he can. He also possesses the best items in the world. This red-haired merchant had stolen Kay's item through fraudulent trading just before the server ended. So Kay was furious at him. That would be an understatement. But Kay couldn't get an answer from Deok-pal, since he died even before answering the question, just like the kobolds. It seems like Jack is one big scammer and even managed to scam Hana. They move forward to free the people that the merchants kept captivated here. Suddenly, a shining piece of earring caught his eyes, and eureka, Jack revealed his face. Jack the Shiny Stealer. Jack has been found, but he refused to admit that he is the same person. Kay asks him about the shiny earrings that he has been wearing. They're the angel's earrings. Jack refutes it and tells him that the earrings are as pretty as the angels, the sneaky cat. Hana aims for her revolver at him, and Jack within a minute kowtows before her. Violence is the only answer here. He finally admits that he's done all the scamming. His real name is Ji Sung-soo. He apologizes for all the wrongdoings that he did on the dream side. Kay replies that he misunderstood the situation, as they are not asking him about the game, but the merchant's situation. Kay acknowledges and lets slip of tongue and addresses him as Kay. This makes it tingling in Kay's ears and he rages in fury, as if he was an eagle praying for a snake. Jack replies that he was tracing Kay through the GPS tracker, which he received as a server termination bonus. Then, he starts laughing and says that the best possible way to earn money is by staying on Kay's side. Jack is a child in an adult's body. Also, he's a fan of Hana, and Hana remembers him as a cute little middle schooler. Well, that's kind of weird to think that he was literally the evil dude, and it's kind of unsettling. Jack still sticks to it that somebody's been using his name and he didn't do any of the bad things during this period. Jack then goes back to his past in the last 3 months. When he couldn't track Kay on the GPS, he was wandering around Seoul. That's the time when those filthy merchants approached him. The merchants gave him the food and the contract. From there, he got to know about his imposter holding an auction. The auction is taking place in the newly opened D5 area, the black market. And the captivated people are being sold at the market as extra lives, since the souls are being transferred to an empty body. The host is named the Master of Goblins. The goblins are in chain form, such as the first goblin follows around the second goblin, the second one follows the third one, the lichens, and above them is the Master Goblin who is at top. Thus, Kay has found his next prey to feast on. Their next area is to venture into Area E. Jack shares his plan to use it as a shortcut. He has brought everyone to a place where the air was gusty and too strong to withstand. Jack's plan to sneak right into the cabin where the auction is being held and extract the information. Suddenly, the hologram pops up, stating that they've entered the hidden area, the train roof. The hidden quest, Night of the Reapers, will start any time from now. And the spirit monsters arrive. Swoosh! They're the Spectre at level 72. As they are ghost types, the normal method wouldn't work on them, so Kei activates his magic concentration and the Gauntlet of the Kakashi, also known as a powerful glove, to take them down. As a result, he can use a single strike that accumulates the mana into a single point and act as a strong blow. Thus, he ends up killing the Spectre. He was searching for Jack, and Jack suddenly sneaks from behind him as an invisible person. This is his specialty, the invisibility skill. That's why he's the Mirage, an oasis. Jack tells him about the rest of the Spectres. If he kills all of them, then the monster, the boss Banshee, will appear. And we see her right here, and she looks very, very creepy, but pretty at the same time. Kei just smiles to himself, muttering about a good plan. His eyes in this panel speaks more than words. The power of the MC. Hana is toting her revolver at the Spectres, but then Kei stops her, and he punches one of them right away. He says, "Don't try to get rid of the Spectres," and she is like, "What? Did they just catch my bullets?" Then the detective says, "You don't want us to get rid of them?" And then he asks, "What the heck is going on?" And Gi-young is kind of confused. He then says, "If you defeat all the Spectres, a boss Banshee will appear, but we don't have enough time to defeat the Banshee." And he says that's why they will use the Banshee. They are both confused, and they just look at him like, "Are you kidding me right now, bro?" And a few moments later, we see the Spectres chasing after them. Gi-young is like, "Oh crap," and he's dodging all their hits. We see his defense has decreased by 7%, and our boy is just running, like, "Help me!" And the detective is like, "They're coming again. Why?" And then of course, he gets a flashback to when Kei told him, "I want you and detective to lure the Spectres, can you do it?" And then he says, "Of course, leave it to me." And then, while he's running, he says, "But you didn't say there would be that many, Kei." And he says, "I hate you, Kei." What a funny dude. We then seem to be in some sort of room, and we hear, "That's unfortunate. Player B25. What amazing speed, he's dodging everything." And there seems to be some dude drinking a glass of wine. We then see somebody punch someone, and then the guy is yelling, "Yes, perfect, harder," and it's the final blow. Just at that moment, somebody walks in and it's a 3-horned guy, and then we find out that victory for player B25. We see the guy walk in and he has chains around him with a collar on his neck, and he has 3 horns, like I said, at the top of his head, and he looks down at this person sitting. This guy says, "What?" And this is a fake Jack, and he's holding his glass of wine, and he says, "Do you want to die? It's over." He says, "I want your confirmation." And I wonder what he could be talking about. Boom. Something hits him, and it is Jack's glass of wine, and it slaps him across the face. He says, "You bore me," and then he says there's no point in this expensive wine anymore. He then says, "Why are you looking at me like that?" And we find out that what's on his head is a goblin headpiece, an omnipotent item that can control all goblins. And because of the effects the goblin headpiece has, he is under the target's control. He then kneels down and says, "Yes, my king." Jack then says, "What does this useless goblin have to report to me?" He says that he has received reports that the station attendant First Goblin has been attacked. The fake Jack says, "So what? What about the scout we sent?" He says, "Please take a look at the screen," and a hologram pops up. Then we see Kei literally stepping over this little dude, or this big guy, and he has been defeated. Jack is like, "Is this real? The station attendant was on par with the second goblins, and you're telling me there are players that can defeat them in Seoul?" And then we see them, and then he says, "Wait, I realize that face. Of course, it is Choi Hana." His jaw drops, and he is like, "What the heck? Is that really Choi Hana?" He then starts to drool, and he says, "This changes things," as he wipes it off his mouth, and he says, "Capture the intruders, bring the girl, and kill the rest of them." And our boy just really is a menace to society. They then walk inside the cabin, and then Hana asks, "Will the detective and Dae-so and Jang Kik-young be okay?" Kei says yes, because Gi-young has the highest defense stat out of all of them. And because Detective Oh Dae-so is from the Special Cases Department, he's super well trained. We then arrive at the D5 place, and this is a place where the entire world's greed is on auction. This is a black market entrance. In the black market, people use masks to hide their identities. And then Jack says, he only has one mask and there are 3 of us. Hana says, what do we do to get in then? Let's just go, because we can't go alone. And Jack says, who said we're only letting one of us go in? And then he says he will lend his cloak to Seoju Nim, the cloak of the secluded, and it has the invisibility skill. He says to use this to sneak into the black market and find out more about the contracts. Kay has it in his hand, then he says, don't we need one more mask? And then he says, I have something for that too. We are then inside the casino area of the black market, and they are gambling right here, and one of the attendees, or the dude that's handling it, seems to be a monster. We then see the people wearing their variety of masks, and of course we see Kay in his invisibility cloak. They then ask, did the wind just blow? What the heck was that? Because it is our boy Kay. He then wonders it wasn't a door, but a portal, and then he looks from the top to the bottom of the casino, and he mentions this dungeon is a lot bigger than he expected. Now, where should I start searching? He then notices a red goblin dude, and then he says that's suspicious, as he follows him as he enters the door. And then we switch back to Guillaume and of course, the detective and him running on top of the train. The detective says, you're good at running, Guillaume, and then he's like, yeah, of course. He would never fail a task given to him by Kay. And then he wonders if everything's going well for them, and they're running on top of the train, escaping the Scepters. We are then at the D5 black market, and we are looking at Ji Sang-soo and Choi Hana. We then see Ji, and he has a mask on, while Choi Hana just seems to have a piece of red cloak around her. It's not really a good disguise, but I'm afraid that it will do. She says, do you really think this plan's going to work? And he says, of course. And then she asks, what's for plan B? And then before that happens, we see somebody let off smoke from his mouth, and he says, are you a merchant? And it is that red goblin, and it is a second goblin ring. He asks, what are you guys good at selling? And then she opens up her hood, and then she smiles, and she says, well, obviously, it's me. She looks very pretty here, and I think that the merchant, or our boy Jack, is trying to sell the girl. He then smiles, and he says, it's Choi Hana. That's the girl the fake Jack told me to bring him. And then he says, if you would please follow me to a more private space. And then Jack is like, yeah, perfect. He then smiles, and then they enter a suspicious room, and there seems to be some sort of panda looking at them. We then see a goblin or somebody in a cage, and then Kay is like, whoa, I never thought I'd be seeing an orc here, and it seems like the goblins are selling orcs, and he's wearing the cloak. We then hear somebody say walk straight, and he refers back to his invisibility mode. He is carrying, or this goblin is carrying somebody. And then Kay says that there's a lot of victims of the contracts, and seems like he's in the right spot. And then he sees this yellow-haired guy with yellow eyebrows, and he's sweating. And he recognizes him as Gong Ji-won. He is Gong Ji-won from the skeleton hunt. And then he says that it looks like he's still conscious, but he doesn't look good. And if he wants to save those people and Gong Ji-won, then he doesn't have enough time. And so he needs to talk about this later with Detective O. He then sprints out of there, and of course they don't hear him. He then mentions that he needs to find a second goblin that might know something. He then sees somebody holding, I don't know if that's a nail or a hammer, and he says he found one. He then jumps up like a complete awesome dude, and the goblin looks behind him like, what's that sound? And this guy's about to get slapped. Boom! He comes down and hits him in the face. And of course, this guy never stood an absolute chance. We then go back to Jack with Hana, and he says, we're going to the auction because Choi Hana asked. We then see some cool doors, very, very cold by the way. Seems like this is a VIP lounge or something. And then the goblin says, yes, right here, right this way. And then he says, thank you. The doors then open, and it is a fake Jack sitting there with his very strong goblin behind him, and he has his legs crossed. He then says in his head, 3 horns, that's a third goblin? And then Jack says, but the guy next to him is the fake Jack. Fake Jack then says, is that really the idol Choi Hana? And then Jack realizes that what's on his head is a goblin headpiece, and then he remembers that that is why that the goblins have been following his orders. And then he also says, but that's not how you're supposed to use that. Jack then says, I only asked for Choi Hana, so who is the small guy next to her? He then says, "I can't believe it. Hey, Lycan," and it is the monster or the goblin beside him. He says to kill, but then the real Jack says to the fake Jack, "Wait, dungeon merchant Jack, I have something to say." This is pretty ironic considering he's pretty much talking to himself. He then asks, "How do you know who I am?" He then says, "Of course, as a merchant, how could I not know Jack?" And then fake Jack says, "You're a smart guy." And then he brings out some wine, and then he says, "Do you want a drink?" And of course the real Jack says that he won't decline. This fake Jack is also the host of the auction. He asks Jack why he was here. Jack replies that he was here for an exclusive trade agreement. He also added that his clients want to pass a black market and have a direct connection to get large quantities of high quality goods. The fake Jack asks them if they needed a fund. By saying so, he revealed his screen that states 10 million gold and asks for the client's real identity. Jack states that he can't do so. However, he tells him about the client being on the famous Ark. Hearing this, the fake Jack shows an expression as if he doubted the client's identity. But of course, Jack was only using the client as bait, a bait to distract him. The rat-looking faker then asks him about the paperwork, as if he was waiting for him all along. This means he had misunderstood Jack and Hana for someone else. Jack also agrees to sign the contract. Thus, a deal has been made and a blue chain appeared on Jack's hands. The imposter laughs and tells him that it's a way to ensure the deal they just made. The hologram quest states that it's the effect of the double-sided contract and has an after effect on his body, and that it has been locked along with his new inventory. Here it was revealed that the fake Jack's real name is Jack. What a loser. Now it's going overboard and a chill starts to run down Jack's spine. He tells Jack that if he thinks he has the upper hand on this, then he's completely wrong. There at the right time, Detective Owen Guillaume appear out of nowhere with the Spectres. Then starts a fierce battle between the Spectres and the Lycans. As the situation is against Jack, he decides to use a double-sided contract as a means to stop the opposite team. The shackles on Jack's hands start to get tighter as he screams out in pain. This makes Jack smile, but it will soon fade away as Jack is about to break the shackles. And this makes his jaw drop to 4 centimeters as if it's never coming back again. Jack has managed to nullify this contract. Jack is astonished as it asks Jack how he even did this. Jack does not give a straight answer and Jack with a stinky breath screams near Jack's mouth. The cat is finally out the box as Jack addresses Jack as a fake one and tells him about his other big headaches. The Lycans of Jax have defeated all the Spectres. This means the Mother Banshee will appear at any moment. The ratty Jack will soon become snake food, no doubt about that. A large aura of death is approaching. D-rank Mother of Reapers, the Banshee has appeared. She is a pale-looking queen with a blush shoe, adorning her the right way. After the green slimy queen, this world gets another female mighty monster. Now we need to see if she's full of air or an actual monster who got some actions to back it up. Kay, on the other side, has been fighting the second goblin. He suggests that the goblin let go of the losing battle. He asks him about the double-sided contract. The goblin then replies that the mighty Lord Jack has it. Kay also asks him why the goblins worship Lord Jack as their owner. He replies in incoherent words, but Kay managed to make it understandable. The summary is Kay needs to go to the D10 area right now, and that's where the key to the maze is. Kay gets up and his invisible cloak moves along with the speed, showing the firm determination of an imprecise prediction. Hey guys, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Make sure to comment down legendary if you made it to the secret ending. And without further ado, I hope you guys have a good day. Make sure to comment down your Manhwa recommendations down below and make sure to subscribe because it really helps me keep this channel going. I'll catch you guys in the next recap.